Thanks, everyone, and hello. Thanks for joining this session. It's going to be very exclusive, so we can address individual questions during the presentation. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I hope you enjoyed the day so far. And maybe the headache is already gone from the party last night. So, with the variety of sessions we see here at DevGAMM, I think it's pretty clear that we are in quite exciting times within the video games industry. And there are multiple opportunities and also challenges within the industry. And today is about how you can act on the opportunities laying out there. And our goal is to equip all of you with some tools, ideas, and resources to capture those opportunities. In the session, we are going over embracing a global perspective for your video game, exploring some of the changes within the video game industry, and we're looking for a catalyst of success and how payments can help you grow your business. But yeah, first of all, a little bit about me. I'm Jan. I work in the industry since 10 years, and in my past, I had different roles in marketing. The longest stretch were at Ubisoft, where I worked 8.5 years as a brand manager and other marketing roles as well. And there I carved the local strategy for the German-speaking countries on how to promote, how to advertise games like Far Cry, Anno 1800, and many, many more. And then in the last 3 years at Ubisoft, I was working on leading the efforts to bring people to the Ubisoft store. So the Ubisoft store is where Ubisoft directly sells their PC download games on their own website. And then in 2021, I jumped the ship over to Xsolla, and there I'm leading the marketing for the European region. So now you know a tiny bit about me. I want to know a little bit about you, asking you, who's a developer developing games? None of you. Yes, 2 of you. So who of you is developing on PC? On mobile? Mobile. Great. OK, we're going to talk about mobile a little bit more then. Cool. Before starting into the session, let me give you a very short story. In 2018, I was in Sweden, and I'm a German native, and I'm living most of my life in Germany. And as you may know, Germany is still heavily dependent on cash payments day in and day out. So I'm in Sweden. They are way more advanced in digital payments. And I'm standing on a market within a city. So there's a small strawberry, a fruit stand. And I'm coming in there and seeing like a conversation and a purchase happening next to me with a woman. And then both of them, like the vendor at this fruit stand and she, were both looking into their mobile phones. And I didn't understand what was happening because you don't see this in Germany. So I was asking myself, being German, being sometimes a little bit impatient, I was asking myself, OK, when does a vendor turn to me? And what is happening there? Why are they looking into their phones? And yeah, it turns out I see a little sign which is called Swish. And afterwards, I looked it up. Swish is similar, I would say, to PayPal. PayPal I knew back then for sure, using very often. So what was happening? The vendor, the fruit stand, just had 2 opportunities or 2 methods to pay. One was cash, which I did, and the other one was using Swish. But Swish is super regional. You don't know it in Germany. You don't understand in the first second what is happening there. And there I realized back then that applying local payment methods can be really important if you want to address your audience in there. So this takes me to the next slide, which is just an overview. At Xsolla, we help developers to go directly to the players. We help the developers grow their businesses, generate more revenue, set up new revenue streams, and reach the bigger audience on a global scale. Going into next, I think it's amazing to see where we are now as an industry. Looking backwards, in 1995, we had about 32 billion in global revenue in video gaming with about 100 million players. And 1995, I was 9 years old back then, so I could just dream of getting into the video industry, and I barely have been in touch with video games, maybe with the Game Boy and so on. Nowadays, 2023, the prediction of the global revenue is about 200 billion US dollars, and we're expecting to see 3.2 billion players in the world. Last year, instead, after 2 years of COVID and pandemic, has been quite challenging for many of us, many of the developers and publishers. As you can see, most platforms saw a small to decent decline. The overall market declined, and an exception is the PC platform. They increased by around plus 20%. And what's interesting to see is that mobile games are already making up half of all the revenue globally. And we're going to see that this is further to grow as new technology, as more powerful phones are coming in, and more people, thanks to the easiness of getting access to games via mobile phones, this is going to increase over the next time. And then, looking a little bit ahead of us, at 2025, it's expected that we will see 3.6 billion players on a global scale, which in my opinion is a huge silver lining. Even though we are going through some tough times now, there is a lot positively to look at. So another thing we have seen is the nature of sales. So the nature of sales usually has been like, if you want to market your game, if you want to get in touch with your player, you usually have a middleman in between. It's the retailers, it's the third-party platforms, and it has always been like this. So you're in between, the middleman is in between you and your players. Now, an overall trend we can observe in the entertainment industry overall is that there's more and more companies going direct to their consumers. Whether it's in movie streaming, whether it's in music streaming or in sports, that's an overall tendency. So maybe you're wondering what a direct-to-consumer strategy is. It means that you go direct to your players, sell, market, and distribute your game, and doing this without the third-party platform being involved. And this means there's potentially more revenue to get, and there's more data to collect. And data is a super powerful thing. You gain first-party data. You start to better understand your audience. You start to better cater to their needs, and you will better see how you can segment the different target audiences and how the cohorts are moving. So, and then last but not least, there is a chance, thanks to direct-to-consumer strategies, to grow your overall user base. And I'm going to explain how. So one common element is using local payment methods. So you think on your brand with a global strategy, but you want to be local enough so that you provide the players or the potential players you can tap into with the right payment method so they can actually pay for your game, whether it's a premium game or in-game items, subscriptions. This is all provided, and as you can see, there are more than 700 payment methods around the globe. And I think what's flattering is the number in Europe alone. We have almost 400 payment methods in Europe. And before I joined Xsolla, I think I would have been able to name 6 to 10 of the payment methods in Europe. But yeah, there's a lot of different ones. As diverse as the region is, the payment methods are diverse too. And now let's take a look into expanding some of the knowledge we have and get into new horizons in a sphere which many of you most likely already know. Like, where's your main player base, if I may ask? Where's the main player base? Is it Western, US, Europe? Okay. US as well. Yeah, great. So yeah, looking at Europe, you can see that this market is about 24 billion in revenue in 2022, and much of the payment methods utilized are bank-to-bank accounts, credit cards, PayPal, or PaySafeCard. And Germany, UK, France, and Italy are making up 3 out of 4 from the revenue generated in this market. So, as already mentioned, in Sweden you use Swish. In Germany we have a payment method which is called Sofort. I think this is a very exclusive one for Germany, and I understood now that Blik in Poland, for example, is a relevant payment method, or Ideal in the Netherlands. So as said, Europe is quite diverse in the payment methods you can have and the people want to see. And now I think it's getting even more interesting because, which is not right around the corner, is the international emerging markets, or markets like China. So China is the second biggest market in video gaming in the world, and it's going to be the biggest one in the next couple of years to come. And in huge contrast to what we have seen for Europe, for example, is that credit cards are rather irrelevant in this market. So the dominant players in those markets are Alipay and WeChat Pay. This means, besides the struggles or hurdles you will have to anyway enter into China, if you want to have people being able to play and pay for your games and your services, then you need to work with those ones, because they're making up the vast majority of the market. Complete different overview and a very diverse and scattered market is South Korea. So South Korea alone has a tremendous, huge list of alternative payment methods. And South Korea is the 4th biggest market in the world. So while using all the relevant methods in there, you have the opportunity to grow your businesses. And this is what the platforms sometimes limit out on, because they cover most of it, but not all of those local payment methods. So you're missing out on some of the potential revenue you can do in those countries. And then another interesting market, not just by the figure itself, it's 2.6 billion. It's big, but comparably to the size of the country and the inhabitants, India is rather small. But 2022, they seen a 4-fold growth in this revenue number. And this country is growing super fast, and video gaming is growing super fast. In India, the majority of people, like 55%, use credit or debit cards, so that's rather easy to access. Most platforms provide this too. But there's local payment methods as well, as Paytm, UP, and those are the ones you really want to have on your plate to cater your needs and the people in India. So this is just a small glimpse and overview. We have for many, many more markets similar statistics, and we have people who know what to do, how to do in, for example, when you want to grow in South Korea or in other places in the world. But now let's take a closer look to some of the success story. The most recent one we have is, for example, Tilting Point. So Tilting Point, for their game Star Trek Timelines, we're looking at new ways to increase the lifetime value of the players, to look for where revenue is still to get from. And they were also looking at enhancing the player retention to make the most of the opportunities you have with your player base. So they started to integrate our webshop solution, which is specifically for mobile game developers. And they were after improving their overall player metrics, and especially moving over the whales and the dolphins to the webshop. So the result that they have seen is that by today, and this is just a few months since they integrated, they're making 25% of the revenue coming in on this brand already with the web shop. And this means they were very successful in converting their player base from Apple or Google to be monetized on their own web shop. And this means they are cutting out some of the platform fees, and they control the whole narrative, the promotions, and they control, or they can get in touch directly with their players. So they have more opt-ins for newsletters. And the way they do it is they cater specific, you get a specific add-ons or top-ups to your purchases in the web shop. And this makes it very enticing for your whales because they directly understand that they get the best offer on your web shop. And there's a couple of regulatory constraints, like this needs to be fitting to the rules of Apple or Google, but it does if you bundle up your items, for example. And in this way, you collect more data and you'll be able to directly speak with your audience and better understand their behavior in converting in your shop. And what they saw as well is that more than half, over half of the players are doing repeat purchases, and often enough, the purchase amount is exceeding what you usually see on an average on the platform. So now, taking another look at Mir 4 from WeMate, once they released and announced Mir 4, they saw a huge embrace from the global audience of this game, and they came to us to ask, how can we expand on a global scale our brand and our game and make it safe for us, like being legally compliant, being tax compliant, and being compliant with the data protection laws in all those regions. And they had a specific need for catering the emerging markets because they thought there was a huge need in those regions. So they integrated with our pay station, and this allowed them to tackle a broader audience. And some of the results you can see here. I think what's super interesting is, after 2 months, they're not only doing 500% increase in the daily sales, but they also saw that 65% of the revenue they do is coming from emerging markets. So those were markets they couldn't tap into because it's markets like Indonesia, where debit cards or bank accounts even are not that common. But you have a lot of new, what we call alternative payment methods, let's say the Indonesian PayPal, things like this. This is opening up your audiences and make it available for you. This is a PC game, by the way. I didn't mention it before. So wrapping it up, at Xsolla, we have tools for you to go directly after your clients, to find more and grow your business, find more players, open up markets, and improve your business overall. And before going into the Q&A session, I can recommend you to download our ebooks. We have also specific ebooks for how you can use and utilize webshop for mobile games, and it gives you a broad overview. The ebook is not too thick. It's good to digest, and I hope it provides you with some valuable knowledge. So thank you, everyone, for listening in, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation, loved it. Do we have any questions in the audience right now? I'll let you think about it because I have one. So let's say I am a PC developer and I have the game, like I use Steam for most of the time. Why would I go out of Steam in payments methods?
Yeah, I think this is something crucial to understand. It's our way we work is not a rivalry to Steam or to another platform. It's an addition of this. You want to reach more people. Steam, for example, has a coverage of around 60% for the PC player base on a global scale. And they have a couple of payment methods included in their platform for sure, but not as many as we provide. Because it can get very detailed, and sometimes this is for the big companies, it's not the core business in the end. That can be very nitty-gritty, and this is what we do for the developers then. And Steam is a partner for us. You are also allowed to sell Steam codes outside of Steam, for example, under specific rules. And yeah, so this is one element.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone interested to ask questions? Come on, come on, come on, because I have another one from a friend of mine. Sorry, a friend of mine asked to ask a question for you.
Yeah.
So it was like, what are the maybe potential risks or difficulties the developer should take into account when trying to implement some other payment methods?
So I think it's a general strategic decision to think of if you want to go direct to your players. Because this comes with efforts and resources too. So you set up your own website, you set up maybe on PC your own launcher, or you're driving people as a mobile game developer now to a web shop. This is all stuff you haven't tapped into before, most likely, and this means you need to get people who understand how this works, and yeah, it will open up new opportunities, and along the way you're gonna learn how to do it. But the other challenge developers face are localization. If you want to be present in South Korea, then you need to localize to South Korea. But putting all those bits and pieces together, you have a great opportunity to grow your games in specific regions and get more revenue. And I think many companies right now the time is over that you want to leave money on the table. Many come from a growth time and now entering more into where it's more important to look at profitability. So you want to make sure that you start up, grow up new revenue streams to your business.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe okay. So thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask, maybe you could share some safe and good ways of driving users from, for example, mobile game to a web shop, because that's something we are going to face pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one safe thing, what we have seen with one of our partners, what they do, you're, for example, not allowed in a mobile game to promote your offers on a web shop directly. But you have new content. So you drive your players, you advertise in the game, you reach out to your players and let them know that there's new content to come and that they should take a look at your website, because you can link them out to the website. You're not allowed to directly link them out to the web shop, but to your website. So you come in with the content, and then there's a web shop, and then you have your offers there. And your whales or dolphins, they will understand that there is, at least they're gonna look into it. You can use social media communication. You can use if you have Discord or what other channels it might be where you reach out to your community, you can utilize all this to let them know that there is a new place where they can do the purchases and they get a top up on it. We also seen that some of our clients use a loyalty program, so they earn some additional in-game currencies, which they can just spend in a web shop, or you carve together packages which are, it's not about putting a lower price tag. It's not what we recommend. We would always say, create a bundle and bring in some extra value to it, and then people start to convert there. And one thing, the biggest challenge is to have this first conversion. Once they did it, they are logged in. They are logging in with your ID, and once they are logged in, once they did one of the purchases, they will come back, and then it's super easy for them because they understand the flow. And the whole experience. We use white label solutions here, so it's about your brand, and you also can customize your brand identity on it, so it really feels cohesive for the players and safe.